I invite you to come close. I invite you to lay down what you have carried today. I invite you to open your heart, not with pressure, but with gentle curiosity. I keep my voice low. I ask only for honest presence. I do not ask for answers. I ask only for a willingness to rest. I sit with you in this quiet hour. The room is soft with the last light of day. The pillows cradle your head. The blanket rests like a promise across your knees. Outside, the world slows. Inside, your breath finds its own rhythm. I breathe with you. We breathe together. Each breath is a small release. Let the breath be steady. Breathe in slowly. Count to 3. Hold for a moment. Let go for a longer, gentle count. Feel the air as it moves. Notice the rise at the chest. Notice the fall at the belly. Let each out-breath carry one small worry away. Let each in-breath carry a quiet hope. Now, release the tension in your body. Start at the top of the head. Soften the scalp and the forehead. Relax the space between the eyebrows. Ease the jaw. Let the tongue rest away from the teeth. Unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let them melt away from your ears. Unfold the hands. Let the fingers be heavy. Relax each arm. Notice the weight of your legs sinking into the mattress. Soften the knees. Let the feet fall away from effort. If a part of the body still holds tight, breathe into it. Invite that place to rest. I speak with a heart that knows tiredness. I have walked long days. I have carried small and large weights. I have felt the ache of unmet expectations and of simple, ordinary fatigue. I also know the quiet that follows when burdens are set down. Even for a little while, the night can hold what the day cannot. The darkness can tuck in what light could not soothe. This is a space for honest rest. No pretense. No performance. No checklist of prayers that must be recited. Bring what is real. Bring the small things that sting. Bring the unsettled thoughts. Bring the fragments of joy and the threads of fear. Place them gently on the bedside table of your heart. Do not clutch them. Lay them down. Let the surface of your heart be still. I speak now of a softer kind of assurance. It is not a quick fix. It is a steady presence. Imagine a steady hand at your back. Imagine a voice that does not demand, but stays. Imagine mercy arriving like rain on dry ground. Imagine hope that is small and certain, like a light behind a closed door. The word I read is simple and strong. It comes as balm. It comes as company. It does not shout. It whispers. It reminds without pressing. It offers rest that is not earned, but given. It assures without argument. It leans toward the wounded. It leans toward the weary. Tonight, listen for mercy. Listen for promises, wrapped in quiet word. Listen for images of shelter and of care. Let the narrative roll over you like a soft tide. Let it smooth the stones of anxious thought. Allow these pieces of truth to settle into the heart where weariness gathers. You do not have to fix anything now. The world will wait in its turning. Your responsibility in this hour is simply to receive a small gift. Let the gift be the acceptance of rest. Let it be the feeling of being known and still loved. Even in uncertainty, let it be the sense that mercy is close. I will speak slowly. I will let pauses hold the meaning. When words land, give them time. Let each phrase sink in. Do not rush to interpret. Allow images to do their work. Allow the sound of the voice to be itself a steady companion through the night. Picture a lamp by the bedside. Its light is warm and small. It does not try to flood the room. It just keeps a pool of comfort near you. Picture a path that leads to a quiet field. The path is soft underfoot. Each step is gentle. You do not have to hurry. The sky above is wide and calm. Stars are few, but bright. A single star might be enough for guidance. Follow it slowly. Think of the hands that knit a blanket. Each stitch is careful and slow. The maker works with patience. The blanket is for keeping warm. It knows the shape of your shoulders. It bends to your form and holds. The word wraps around you like that. It touches where you need warmth. It covers the places that feel raw. If memory brings a sting, let it come with the tenderness of a caregiver. Do not push the memory away. Let it sit beside you. Offer it a space in your awareness where it can breathe. Speak to it quietly. You are not alone. Even the wounds have a place in the story of being held. There will be moments when thoughts try to carry you back to lists, to tasks, to conversations yet to be had. When that happens, acknowledge the thought like a bird that lands at the window. Note it. Then, without force, watch it fly away. Bring your attention back to the breath. Bring it back to the warmth at your chest. Bring it back to the gentle cadence of my voice. Remember mercy as a coming home. Imagine returning to a familiar room where someone already put a pot of tea on the table. The house smells of kindness. The chair is waiting with a cushion. You do not owe an explanation. You are welcome as you are. Let that welcoming hold you now. Trust does not burst into being all at once. It grows in small steps. Each restful moment is a building block. Each time you let the word sit with you, trust gains a whisper of strength. Hope finds room to breathe. Mercy plants small roots. Tonight, I will tend to the simple elements of rest. I will speak of shelter. I will speak of light. I will speak of gentle correction and patient care. I will avoid pressing answers. I will not unravel every question. Instead, I will offer the steady assurance that you are known and cared for in ways that do not depend on your performance. If worry rises, imagine breathing it into a sunset. Watch it dissolve into color. Let the tension unthread. If grief visits, let it move through like a quiet stream. Sit with it for a while. Let it be carried by the current of the word. If gratitude begsin, let it be held too. Notice it like a small bird that hops onto your shoulder. There is a faith here that feels practical. It is not about proving or arguing. It is about being steadied. It meets the body where it is tired and the mind where it is frayed. It leans down to soothe, not to lecture. It offers rest as a right to be received. The night is a good teacher of small truths. It shows us that darkness is not the end. It reveals stars we could not see in the day. It asks nothing more of you than to be present and to listen. In the listening, healing begins. In the silence between words, mercy moves. Now, make the small adjustments that bring comfort. Turn the pillow to the cool side if you like. Adjust the blanket so the weight is pleasant. Close your eyes if that helps. Keep them open if you prefer. Whatever feels gentle is right. I speak directly to the weariness. I name it. Without shame, you have faced enough for today. You have done what you could. You have loved. Even when love felt small, you have rested when you could and pushed when you had to. Tonight, allow the day to be complete. Before we begin the reading, lay a hand over your heart if it feels natural. Feel the beat. Notice it. Let it be a small drum of life and courage. Let that rhythm remind you that you are alive and cared for. Let it be a quiet yes to rest. I will read slowly from the scriptures now. I will choose words that heal and soothe. I will speak them in plain language. Each sentence will be unhurried. Each pause will be deliberate. The pace is for listening, not for rushing. If sleep comes at any point, that is welcome. Rest is not to be postponed for the sake of hearing every word. Sleep is a blessing given and taken. The words will continue to echo in the heart. They will carry their soft light into dreams. If you remain awake, that is also a place of trust. Stay present. Let the cadence of the reading be a companion. Let the truths settle like soft rain. Let the promise of mercy and grace be felt as a warmth that touches the edges of the night. We begin together now. I place my voice into the quiet. I breathe with yours. I invite the word to do its gentle work. May this hour become a shelter. May it become a place where healing begins, where courage is gathered, and where hope rests its weary head. When you are ready, let your eyes close or remain softly open. Follow the breath, follow the voice. Allow the word to carry you towards sleep with tenderness and truth. I settle into the quiet beside you. My hands rest lightly on the book. The room keeps its hush. I remind us both of one simple truth. God is here. Presence is not loud. It is a steady warmth. It moves through the room like a soft breath. I name that presence because naming helps the heart rest. I do not make a show of it. I only say it as a fact. The air feels different when mercy is near. Even when thoughts pull at the edges, the knowledge of company holds. Let that company be enough for this hour. If this time brings a gentle ease, consider letting others find it too. A small gesture helps. A subscription makes this quiet space easier to keep. Sharing the calm with a friend is like passing a candle. It does not lessen the light. It gives more people a steady glow for the night. I mention this softly. No pressure comes with it. Only a gentle hope that peace travels. Now I turn to grace that reaches into daily life. I speak of forgiveness. The idea lands simply. Hold it lightly. Forgiveness is not an abstract rule. It is a practice of breathing. It lets burdens slide off the shoulders. It does not mean forgetting what hurt. It means placing the hurt somewhere safe where healing can begin. I read words from a letter meant to steady hearts. The words invite us to bear with one another. They encourage us to forgive when anger or pain arranges itself inside. The measure of forgiveness is not our strength. It is the way the Lord forgives us. Let that measure be the model. It is patient. It is wide. It is gentle. Picture forgiveness as a cloak. The cloak is porous and warm. It wraps around the raw places and soothes the edges. It does not force wounds to close before they are ready. It covers the places that feel cold each time forgiveness is offered or received. The fabric grows a little softer. It begins as an awkward fold. It becomes a shape that fits. Think of forgiveness as a river too. The current is quiet at first. Objects float and sometimes pause on the surface. The river does not erase stones. It carries them downstream in time. Some stones sink, some remain for a while. But the flow changes the landscape gradually. Trust the movement. Trust that it reshapes the shores of the heart without demanding sudden repair. I invite a small practice. Rest one hand over a place that remembers hurt. Keep the other hand free. Breathe into that memory slowly. Inhale for 3 counts. Exhale for a longer 4. With each out-breath, imagine a thread loosening. Allow one small thought of forgiveness to drift into view. It need not be complete. It only needs to be possible. Say nothing out loud. Let the wish to let go be enough. Let forgiveness be something you try on, like a soft garment. Some nights it fits. Some nights it hangs too loose. Both nights are part of the process. Mercy does its work across many small evenings. I remind the heart that forgiveness works both inward and outward. Receive forgiveness for the ways you have wounded yourself or others. Offer it when resentment tightens the chest. This is not a test of moral stamina. It is an act of care. It unbinds the hands so they can rest. It gives the mind permission to stop replaying old scenes. If names come to mind, hold them gently. Picture the faces without venom. See them as people who stumble, like you. Imagine the Lord's kindness extended to all of you. Let that imagining be a soft bridge. You do not have to resolve every story. You only have to invite a thread of mercy into it. I speak also to the fatigue of trying to forgive alone. There is help for that. Ask for it. I speak quietly about asking. Ask the Lord to teach the heart how to forgive. Ask for the grace to receive forgiveness. Prayer here is not a long speech. It is a reaching of the hand. It is a simple sentence of need. It is a quiet offering of inability and a willingness to receive help. Listen as I paraphrase the simple instruction again. Carry each other's burdens. Forgive if a grievance sits between you. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Those lines are not a demand. They are an invitation to a lighter way of living. Imagine a cart with fewer weights. Its wheels turn easier. The path becomes kinder. I slow my voice. I let the meaning sit. When the mind tries to argue, return to the breath. Notice a sensation near the heart. Breathe into it. Let the breath be an offering of willingness. Forgiveness is rarely instant. It grows like a new shoot through soil that feels compacted. Water and patience coax it up. Notice each tiny green as progress. There will be resistance. That is natural. Sometimes forgiving feels like betraying a boundary. Some hurts require protection. Forgiveness does not mean surrendering safety. It does not erase wise limits. It simply releases the corrosive grip of hatred. It permits peace to edge back into daily life. If anger arises in the night, do not shame it. Name it as part of the landscape. Hold it with the steadiness of someone who knows storms pass. Breathe out into a soft prayer, asking for clarity. Ask for courage to forgive, where forgiveness is appropriate. Ask for wisdom where boundaries must be kept. Let the spirit of gentleness guide these requests. I give a small picture of reconciliation. Reconciliation is different from forgiveness. Reconciliation often needs time and more than one small act. It may require conversations in the daylight. For tonight, keep the aim simple. Focus on the internal work of letting go. Allow inward peace to be the first step. Imagine a small garden where forgiveness grows. Plant one seed tonight. Water it with the thought of mercy. Cover it with humility and with faith. Do this without inspection. Do this without counting exact results. Trust that the seed has what it needs to begin. I share a short breathing exercise tied to the theme. Inhale softly, thinking of receiving forgiveness. Hold briefly. Exhale slowly, imagining sending forgiveness out. Practice this 4 times. Each cycle is gentle. Each cycle weakens the tightness that holds the chest. Let the rhythm be steady. Let the mind rest on the image rather than racing into solutions. Now, I read again in softer language from the text that guides this practice. Be compassionate and kind toward one another. Forgive grievances as the Lord forgave you. Let patience and love be close at hand. Hear those words, not as a list, but as a warm invitation to ease. If sleep comes during this reading, receive it with gratitude. Rest absorbs the mercy of these words. Dreams may carry them further into the night. If wakefulness remains, stay with the quiet. Let the evening be tender and undemanding. Before I close this part, I offer a small, practical suggestion. Keep a notebook by the bedside. If a hurt rises during the night, jot its name in a single line. Then write one small sentence, imagining a forgiving gesture or wish. This is not a record of guilt. It is a tender filing of memory and hope. In the morning, review only if it helps. Often, the act of placing the thought on paper creates a new distance, a place for mercy to begin. I take a moment to bless these simple efforts. I do not pretend to fix every pain. I do celebrate each soft step toward release. The presence of God rests over this quiet attempt. The shelter is not a quick escape. It is a steady, enveloping care that we can return to again and again. If these moments have been useful, and if the calm has touched the night, remember the gentle request I made before consider subscribing and sharing. This time, it is a small way to widen the circle of rest. Let it be like leaving a lamp on at an open door. No fanfare, just light for someone who might need it. I end this section with an invitation to stay present. Place both hands on your lap or at your sides. Feel the weight of the blanket. Notice the rhythm of the heart again. Let the sense of being accompanied settle deeper. Hold the idea of forgiveness as a possible garment and as a slow-moving river. Keep the mercy close. I will pause now. The next part will continue with gentle readings and reflections. It will lean into patience and into quiet trust. For now, let the small seeds of forgiveness rest in the dark soil of the night. Let the presence that surrounds us breathe into those seeds. Let sleep or wakeful peace find its way. I settle back into the chair and let the quiet carry me. The book rests open on my lap. The night folds itself around the room like a familiar blanket. Tonight, I turn to a simple instruction, meant to steady a restless heart. It speaks of calm and steadiness. It asks that worry not rule the hours. It invites prayer paired with thankfulness. It promises a peace that keeps watch over the heart and mind. Listen with me as I put the thought into plain language. Do not let anxiety be the ruler of your night. Take each concern and bring it to the one who listens. Speak it honestly. Add a small, honest word of thanks for a single thing. Notice how the tone changes when gratitude enters the whisper. Then let a quiet peace settle in, like a soft latch closing on a door. This is not a call to tidy every problem before sleep. It is a gentle practice. Imagine holding a handful of small stones. Some are heavy and rub against your skin. One by one, you set each stone down on a table. You do not sweep the table clean of everything that troubles you. You only take 1 or 2 stones for now. You place them carefully. You breathe. You say, in the quiet of your heart, a short request. Then you say thank you for the light on the table, or for the steady air in the room. The act of doing this softens the grip. When I guide this slow prayer, I keep sentences short. I encourage simple pétition. Name a single worry. Speak one small request. Add one thing to be grateful for. The gratitude does not pretend the worry is gone. It shifts the posture of the heart. It opens a window. It allows a breeze of trust to move through. I have learned this with time. Once, sleep kept slipping away because of a list that felt impossible to finish. The chest tightened. Thoughts replayed like a restless wind. On that night, I tried a very small thing. I wrote the 3 heaviest items on a slip of paper. I folded the paper and held it for a moment. I prayed one brief sentence, asking for help with what I could not fix. I then named one small thing I could be grateful for: warm hands, a dim lamp, a friend's voice. I placed the folded paper beside the book and let my head rest. There was no sudden solution. The task still waited in the morning, but the tightness in the chest eased enough for sleep to come. The mind that had been a churn of worry became quieter. When I woke, the problems were the same, but my outlook had changed. The work of the day felt less like dragging a chain and more like steady steps. That small habit of pairing a request with a word of thanks started to reshape the way I approach nights of unrest. The promise of peace works like a gentle guard. Picture a low fence along a quiet garden. It does not block every breeze. It keeps out a clumsy gust and lets through the soft wind. The peace that is promised is not a military sentry shouting orders. It is a watchful presence that stays close to the heart. It calms the wild stuttering of fear. It does not fix every circumstance, but it keeps the mind from becoming a battlefield overnight. When I speak these words aloud at bedtime, I often invite a simple breathing pattern to match the request. Breathe in slowly, bringing the name of the worry into the lungs. Hold for a moment. Breathe out, letting go of the tightness and saying a short word of thanks. Repeat this 3 times. The rhythm itself steadies the body. The pairing of naming and gratitude trains the mind to move from captivity to release, from agitation to a quieter trust. Prayer in this hour is very small. It is not performance. It is a reaching. It can be no more than a whispered help and thank you. It can be as bare as a single name before the night, the name of a child, a task, a relationship. Keep it short. Keep it honest. Let the words be like soft candles. Do not expect them to banish every shadow. Trust that they light enough for restful steps. There is another gentle truth. To keep peace guards the heart and mind. I imagine this peace like a warm cloak draped over the chest. It does not erase memory. It does not change facts. It keeps the heart from being battered by every worry that comes near. When anxious thoughts knock at the door, the cloak cushions their impact. The mind can consider them without being dragged into panic. The body can do what bodies need to do in the night rest. Breathe. Repère. Some nights will still be restless. When the mind reactivates, come back to the simple practice. Name the stirring. Bring it like a soft offering. Add one small thing of thanks. Breathe into the place that tightens. Feel the body respond. The heart slows in its own time. Let that slowing be enough for now. There is a practical habit I keep by the bedside that might help. A small jar sits on the nightstand. I call it the Room for Tomorrow jar. On slips of paper, I write down anything that insists on attention. An email to send. An errand. A worry about a conversation. I fold each note and place it in the jar. The act of moving the thought from mind to paper is a kind of handing over. It does not erase the need to act in the daylight, but it creates a gentle boundary for the night. The jar becomes a small ritual of trust, a concrete place to leave loose ends until morning. Keep the act simple. A single list, a breath, a short prayer of thanks. These are not magic. They are practices that train the nervous system to allow rest or eaten. The night becomes a place where trust grows in small increments. The muscles that clench loosen a little. The mind learns new pathways away from panic. The soul finds a rhythm of surrender that does not abandon responsibility. It simply shifts the work into the hands of a steady presence during the hours when rest is meant to happen. I also remind listeners that thanksgiving changes the posture of prayer. When gratitude is woven into a request, the heart is less likely to harden. Gratitude opens a tiny door. It reminds us there is already good, however small. In the midst of trouble, this remembering is not denial. It is an anchor. It is a way to say, I need help. And I notice goodness even now. The combination calms the spirit. If forgiveness has been a part of your night practice, remember how it can mingle with this calm. There are evenings when naming a hurt then offering a soft word of forgiveness, even if partial brings immediate ease. Forgiveness sometimes clears a pathway for peace, to reach deeper places. When I have released a grievance in the quiet, the gratitude that follows feels more genuine. The clasp around the chest gives way, and the promised peace settles in like a friend. As I speak, adopt a posture of gentleness toward yourself. The practice is not a test. It is an invitation to try a different breathing pattern for the heart. There is room for resistance. There is room for persistence. Some nights, nothing seems to change. And that is allowed. The practice itself accumulates small kindnesses over time. Before I close this part of our time together, breathe with me once more. Inhale slowly. Thinking of one worry you can name, hold briefly. Exhale, offering one small word of thanks. Feel the shoulders ease. Notice the rhythm of the heartbeat. Let the peace that follows be enough for now. I set the book down and smooth the blanket with one soft hand. The room keeps its hush. The light is low. If sleep comes, accept it kindly. If wakefulness stays, remain quiet and patient. The steady presence that watches over the night does not demand more than your reaching hand. Rest in that reliability. When this pause ends, we will move on to a few more readings and gentle images that help steady the mind further. For now, linger in calm. Let the simple practice of naming, praying, and thanking become a lamp for the night. Let the peace promised keep watch. Let it guard the heart and mind until morning. I remind you again of the simple fact. God's peace will guard our hearts and minds when we lift our worries to Him in prayer. I say it softly. I say it slowly. Let those words rest on the breath. I want to tell a quiet story now. It is small. It is real. It happened on a night that also felt ordinary. The memory helps me trust the promise I speak. I am in a room that smells faintly of rain. A lamp burns low. The book sits heavy on my knees. Earlier that day I learned of a change I had not expected. It is the sort of news that nudges the stomach and sharpens the thoughts. The mind begins to list possible outcomes. The chest tightens in its familiar way. I do not try to fix everything at once. I sit with the feeling. I name one worry out loud. As a simple sentence, I ask for help with that one thing. My voice is a whisper. The words are short. I add one small word of thanks for the warmth of the lamp. The room seems to pause. Then I do something I have learned to do in slow nights. I make a cup of tea. The kettle sings. The steam lifts in soft curls. The act is small and human. It feels like placing a hand over a trembling place. I cradle the cup with both hands. I breathe while the tea cools. I fold a cloth. The motion is deliberate and small. Fold. Crease. Smooth. The hands sink into the task. The mind follows. The worry recedes just enough to become bearable. The body stops preparing for the worst. The heart yields a fraction of its hold. I return to the chair with the cup. I read a short passage aloud from the book. The passage speaks of mercy and gentle provision. I do not analyze it. I let the words be a presence. The sound of the voice in the quiet feels like steadying ropes in a small storm. As the minutes pass, another small mercy arrives. A neighbor leaves a note under my door. She writes that she will bring bread in the morning. The thought is unremarkable. It arrives like a pebble dropped into a wide pond. Its ripples soften the edges of the anxiety. I do not expect such kindness. I accept it. The heart breathes a little easier. That night I watch how grace layers itself. One small thing follows another. A hot cup. A routine action. A line of quiet text. A neighbor's note. Each gift is modest. Each sits lightly. Yet together they change the shape of the evening. The worry remains. It is honest and present, but it no longer feels like the only thing in the room. I fall asleep with the book on my chest. The breath slows. The lamp dims. When morning comes, the tasks of the day remain. The list still waits. But the resistance I felt the night before is lessened. The work feels manageable. I remember that the night made room for more than the worry. It offered small hands of help. It granted small moments of calm. This experience taught me something simple about prayer. Prayer does not always act like a sudden solution. Often, it arranges the night so we can rest. It invites grace in small, steady portions. It leads to a layered peace that keeps building across ordinary moments. That idea connects to a line I sometimes read to you. I read it slowly and without flourish. It speaks of receiving grace upon grace. It says that from the fullness, we receive more than one kind alone. The phrase lingers like a soft bell. Grace upon grace. The words are brief. They are deep. I speak of that phrase in plain terms. Grace is not a single gift wrapped and given once. It is an unfolding. It is a series of small mercies. Some come as words, some as actions, some as the sudden relief that follows a sigh. Some arrive in people who show up without fanfare. When the phrase says grace upon grace, it names abundance that does not overwhelm. It names a steady supply that meets need after need. Think of grace like sheets on a bed. The first sheet is enough for warmth. Another sheet adds comfort. A third gives softness at the edges. None of the sheets removes the cold outside. But together, they make rest possible. Each layer is simple. Together they are enough. Or imagine grace as a chain of lanterns along a path. One lantern shows the next step. Another reveals more of the way. None of the lanterns solves the journey. They merely light the footfalls. Step by step, the route becomes manageable. The darkness does not vanish at once. It retreats as a company of small lights moves forward. When I read the phrase about grace upon grace, I mean for it to reassure. Night by night, small mercies arrive. Some are visible. Some are felt beneath awareness. The Lord's kindness keeps coming, not in dramatic bursts alone, but in patient continuations. This image comforts me particularly when sleep is thin. Worries compose as large landscapes in the dark. They feel endless. The idea of layered grace reminds me that one small mercy can begin to change the map. One comforting word, one meal, one quiet hand, one line of truth read aloud. Each one is a thread that tethers the heart. I also notice how this abundance invites a gentle response. Receiving becomes part of the rest. Letting go and allowing help becomes a spiritual practice. The hands that accept a neighbor's loaf are the same hands that later pass on a blanket. Grace is meant to move. It is not hoarded. When we live with small openings to receive, we find ways to give too. If this feels abstract, try a small bedside habit tonight. Name one thing you received today that felt like a small gift. It might be a warm mug, a cute parking spot, a kind text. Write it on a slip of paper. Place the paper beside your book. Then, breathe and say a short word of thanks. Keep the act simple. Let the feeling of being noticed by grace settle into the chest. Another gentle practice is to look for the layers the next morning. Ask with curiosity what small mercies arrived while I slept. Did a plan shift in a helpful way? Did a fear feel lighter? Did a body ache ease? Noticing these things trains the eyes to see grace as ongoing. I read the line about grace upon grace to you because I want rest to be filled with hope. The phrase tells us that help is not finite. It continues. It repeats itself in ordinary ways. It builds. One small act on another. It is patient. It is practical. It is near. There is no pressure in this. The aim is not to tally up every kindness or to force gratitude. It is only to open the hands a little, to allow room for one small mercy to arrive, to receive it. The reception itself softens the night. As I close this part of the hour, I offer a short invitation. Before sleep, find 2 small things that felt merciful during your day. Say them quietly or write them down. Place the note by your lamp. Breathe. Let the thought of grace upon grace move through the evening like a willing tide. I set the book down and rest my palms on the pages. I feel the slow, steady breath beneath my own ribs. The room keeps its hush. The lamp keeps its small pool of light. If you are ready, let your eyes close. Let these images be the last things you hold. Let the small mercies gather around you. When you wake, the world will begin again. The tasks will return. For now, allow the layered grace of this night to do its quiet work. Let it fold over you like the softest blanket. Let it guard the heart and steady the mind. In the next part, I will read more and linger with images that help patience grow. For now, rest in the assurance of grace upon grace. Let that assurance carry you toward sleep with gentle certainty. I sit with the book in my lap and let the room breathe with us. The lamp throws a small circle of light. The night presses soft beyond the glass. I am still. My voice keeps its low pace. Tonight, I turn to a moment in a larger story. It is a moment that names a way God often speaks. A man on a lonely mountain feels a storm first. The wind arrives like a warning. Rocks shift. The earth shivers. Fire burns. Everything that makes noise and fright is present. But the turning point is not in the loudness. After the wind, after the shaking, after the blaze, the presence comes, not as heat or force, but as a whisper, a small, gentle sound It rests in the silence that follows the storm. I am drawn to that image because it fits the night. The late hours often hold great noise inside our heads. Thoughts hammer. Fears make themselves big. We expect answers to arrive with lights and proclamations. Yet the tenderness we need usually slips in quietly. The voice that steadies is not shouting. It is a whisper that nudges the heart toward rest. I speak this as one who reads scripture aloud before sleep. When I place the old words into the hush, they come like soft bread. They are simple. They are firm. They do not shout. They offer a small touch. The practice trains ears to listen for low things. A line that matters will land slowly. I let it sit. I give it room to be received. Sometimes presence feels physical. A warm palm on the shoulder. A neighbor's unexpected loaf. A light left, burning in an empty hallway. Such things are whispers. They speak of care without a parade. The mind that looks only for the dramatic misses them. The eyes that expect fireworks do not see the slow, faithful light at the window. Other times, presence arrives as a quiet conviction. A thought surfaces that steadies decision-making. A small courage edges into the day. It does not knock the trouble away. It simply gives enough strength to keep walking. The whisper is not always an audible sound. It can be a new calm in the chest, a cleared throat in the mind, a rest in the limbs. Those subtler signs are worth naming. I have had nights where the chest felt full of questions. I turned the pages and read aloud. I paused. The voice did not change the facts of the next morning. It changed the heart's orientation to those facts. Where sure panic had lived, a tentative steadiness took root. The shift was not sudden. It was small. It arrived like a soft footstep in a sleeping house. If you listen, you may find similar moments. A friend's brief text that says simply, "I am here." A sudden memory of a kindness you once received. The scent of rain on hot pavement. The safe return of a child from a day away. Each of these is a whisper that says you are not alone. Each is grace appearing in plain shape. They stack up over time. They become a long, quiet conversation. I ask you now to slow and listen with me. Breathe long and slow. Notice the space between one breath and the next. That pause is a small chamber for a whisper. Keep the breathing steady and let the mind settle. Do not force a revelation. Allow the silence. Invite the small voice to be enough to help the ear. Practice a small exercise. Sit or lie where the body can yield. Close the eyes if that helps. Take 3 deep, even breaths. On the third exhale, imagine a whisper arriving. It might be a tender word from the Lord. It might be a memory of mercy. It might be the quiet answer you did not know to pray for. Let the image be slight. Let it be humble. Do not chase it. Receive it like a letter slid under a door. After the breath, name the whisper silently. Call it by a short phrase, presence. Calm. Stay. Hold. Rest. Keep the phrase light. Do not try to define all its meaning. Let the single word be a home for the feeling. Return to it if the night stirs you awake. The phrase acts as a small anchor. I also encourage a simple gratitude practice that ties to these whispers. Think of 3 small, unexpected graces from the last day. They do not need to be large. A hot cup, a brief laugh, a soft light in a doorway. They are often ordinary things that would pass unnoticed if not named. Write each down on a slip of paper. Place them beside the book. The act of recording them trains the eye to see whispers as gifts. As I read scripture at night, I do not search for thunder. I watch for the whisper. I listen for the ways presence shows itself in the ordinary. The ancient text invites a kind of attention that is ready for small sounds. It reminds me that the divine often shows up under the threshold of dramatic events, in the hush after noise. The counsel comes, in the quiet following a storm. The hand rests. I share a short memory to make this gentle. Once, after a long day of worry, I sat with my hands around a mug. The house felt too large for my small fears. I read the book aloud, not looking for conclusion, but for company. A single line, simply and unadorned, landed. It did not solve the day's puzzle, but it changed the tilt of my shoulders. That whisper felt like a place to rest. I slept. When morning came, the burden remained, but it was lighter. The whisper did not take the work away. It lent a companion hand. You might wonder how to recognize God's voice instead of merely your own wish. The voice of mercy usually leads to rest, not to frenzy. It brings clarity, not confusion. It does not demand spectacle. It steadies the feet for the next step. If a thought makes you calmer, kinder, more willing to trust in small ways, it may be such a whisper. There is no need to judge harshly. Accept what feels like peace and test it over time in quiet. We live in a culture that prizes loudness. The night is a corrective to that. In sleep, the body seeks soft things. Muscles relax. The mind lowers its volume. The whisper has a better chance when the world is less inclined to roar. This is why I read at night. The words meet hearts already moving toward rest. They become a lamp for the small steps between wakefulness and sleep. There is a tenderness in receiving small mercy. It invites humility. It invites gratitude. The heart learns to count tiny gifts rather than to wait for a single vast deliverance. That counting does not deny the depth of need. It simply acknowledges the reality of help when it arrives in quiet portions. Over the long course of nights, those portions add up to endurance. If you struggle to hear, begin modestly. Choose one ordinary moment in the day and look for its whisper. Maybe it is a soft shadow under the kitchen table. Maybe it is the pattern of rain on the roof. Maybe it is the way someone remembers a small preference of yours. Notice it. Speak a short word of thanks. Let the habit grow. The ear becomes trained to detect quieter things. The heart grows fluent in the language of small mercies. Tonight, before I read the text that describes the whisper, we practice one more short exercise. Place a hand over the heart if that feels natural. Place the other hand open on the stomach. Breathe in slowly and count to 3. Hold. Breathe out and imagine a small, gentle sound moving through the chest. On the next inhale, receive it again. Thank for its company. Let silence be the rest of the sentence. I will not demand a sudden change. The night moves at its own pace. The whisper may come as an immediate relief. It may arrive gradually, through a series of quieter gifts. Expect neither drama nor disappointment. Expect a gentle continuity. Listen for it in the small things. Receive it in brief gratefulness. Before I close, I invite a short act. Take one of the 3 slips you wrote earlier. Or, if you have none, choose a single small kindness from today. Fold it inward and tuck it beneath the book. Let it be a reminder through the night that whispers come. They arrive not to overtake the day, but to steady it. They gather us into a presence that is close and tender. I set the book between us and lower my voice a fraction. The next part of the reading will tell the story of wind and earthquake and fire. And then, the small sound. I will read it slowly. I will let the whisper have its space. If sleep comes while I read, welcome it without guilt. If wakefulness remains, listen with patience. Either way, let the notion of a gentle whisper carry you into the night. We will stay here for a while. I will read. We will breathe. Let the whisper, however it comes, be enough. Let it move like a hand smoothing a brow. Let it be a steady companion as the dark unfolds. The room keeps its hush. I breathe slowly and let the silence hold its own weight. The hush is not empty. It is full of small sounds that are usually missed. A clock's soft tick, the cloth of the blanket as it settles, the distant whisper of traffic in that thin place. A different kind of voice can be heard. It is not loud. It does not demand. It draws near like a hand laid gently on a shoulder. Tonight I speak of rest. I do so not as advice, but as an offering. The words I read are soft. They come from a place that knows the weight of waking hours. They come as an invitation. There is a promise of rest for those whose shoulders ache from carrying too much. The promise is not a task. It is a doorway. I will paraphrase the simple invitation I read often before sleep. It goes like this. Come to the one who notices your tiredness. Bring the burdens that press against your chest. Place them here. You are not expected to fix them alone. There is a hand ready to take what is too heavy. Rest is not something you must earn. It is offered. Take the gentle way that is taught by the one who knows how weary the body becomes. Learn from that tenderness. Let that softness shape you. The help provided is a kind of support that fits alongside you. It does not drag or cram. It matches your pace. The path it gives is kind. The weight you carry becomes lighter because a companion shares it. The promise leads not to exhaustion but to rest for the soul. Those lines are simple. They are meant to be simple. They do not ask for explanations. They ask for surrender. Surrender here does not mean defeat. It means choosing a companion for the road. The first time this invitation felt true in my bones was on a night when everything inside felt frayed. Work had stretched long. A private worry would not quit. Sleep seemed to recede further each hour. I sat on the edge of the bed and kept the lamp low. The book lay open, its pages familiar and soft in my hands. I did not know how to carry the heaviness. I only knew the shape of it. I read the paraphrased words aloud. They landed like a small boat in a broad, dark sea. I did not feel the burden vanish. I felt it shift. The shoulders relaxed a fraction. The breath lengthened a fraction. There was a tiny space between the worry and the whole of me. That space became my safe place for the night. After reading, I did not speak long prayers. I simply rested my hand over my chest and breathed. Each inhale named one small trouble. Each exhale offered it to the presence I had just recalled. On the third round of breathing, the chest loosened. The mind stopped rehearsing the possible worsts. The change was not dramatic. It was quiet and decisive. Sleep follows soon after. That night taught a practical thing. Rest begins with a single action of trust. The action need not be eloquent. It can be a small sentence, a folded thought, a breath that gives one anxious knot away. The invitation to rest is an invitation to do that small act again and again. Each repetition is a pulse of safety. I have other nights that taught the same. Once, during an especially long season of care, the hours were thin and my patience threadbare. The ritual became very small. Read a line that promises rest. Close the book. Set the hands on the knees and breathe while naming one need. The body learns the pattern. When the mind rises to pace, the hands and breath remind it that help has been offered. The rhythm trains the nervous system. Overtime. The habit becomes a harbor. In the quiet, rest looks like presence. It is not a checklist. It is not a performance. It is a companionship that bows to tiredness. The metaphor of a yoke helps here. Imagine two animals walking side by side under a single yoke. They do not carry one another's burdens by force. They share the pull. One steady pace eases the strain. The helper matches the step, not the speed of panic. This is the kind of partnership invited in the paraphrase. It is practical. It is humble. It is tender. To make that invitation usable at night, I offer a short practice. Keep the sentences short. Keep the breath slow. Name one thing you cannot bear alone. Offer it aloud or in the mind. This is heavy. Help is welcome. Picture the weight slipping from the fingers and gently resting on another palm. Then, take 3 even breaths. With each exhale, imagine a small piece of the load being passed. Do this without worry about the whole list. Just one piece tonight. Allow the rest to be collected by the presence who asked you to come. There is a helpful image for those nights when the mind refuses this kindness. Picture a field at dusk. You walk toward a gate that has always been locked. Tonight, the gate is open. Beyond it, there is a low bench and a warm shawl. You are invited to sit. You do not have to unpack your life on the bench. You only need to lean. The gate remains open until you decide to stand. The invitation is patient. It waits in the quiet. The paraphrase I read continues with a promise about learning. The one who calls gently also teaches how to walk. Learning this way is not a mastery test. It is an apprenticeship in gentleness. The lessons arrive through small acts, a softer breath, a kinder thought, a refusal to let fear run the night. Overtime. The posture changes. The body remembers rest more quickly. In the hush of the room, a short anecdote feels fitting. Once I stayed awake with a friend who was in pain. The house was still except for their breathing. I sat by their bed and read the same invitation to rest. The voice was low and steady. Neither of us expected a sudden cure. The reading was an offering. After a while, the friend's breathing slowed. The body angled towards sleep. The sound of the book closed like a gentle signal that the night had permission to do its work. The moment affirmed what the words promise. Presence eases what is unbearable. Simply by staying, there is also mercy in the pressure that ceases. Throwing down the list for a night does not remove responsibility. It makes room for necessary work in the morning. Often a fresh day brings clearer options and new strength. Rest is not an evasion. It is replenishment. If resistance arises, if the heart worries that surrender means losing control, notice the thought and do the practice anyway. The small ritual is not a test of faithfulness. It is a practical tool. Use it like a warm compress on a sore place. It soothes, not forces. I will read the paraphrased invitation once more. Slowly, come and bring the heaviness. Rest with the one who knows your name. Learn the gentle way. Lay down the burdens and trade them for a lighter step. The offer stands without hurry. Receive it if you will. Before I close this part of the hour, try a slow exercise that ties the invitation to the body. Lie down or settle in a chair. Place a hand over the chest and one over the belly. Breathe in for 3 counts. Pause. Breathe out for 4. With each out-breath, imagine something softening an ache, a thought, a clenched jaw. Repeat this 5 times. At the end, whisper a single permission to yourself. You may rest. Let the words sit. They do not have to solve anything. They only need to be true for the moment. I set the book on my lap. The lamp keeps its small glow. The room keeps its hush. If sleep arrives, welcome it without guilt. If wakefulness remains, stay in the present breath and the open hand. The invitation to rest remains as steady as the night. When you are ready, let the next part of the reading find you. It will move deeper into images of patience and shelter. For now, hold the promise that rest is offered, not earned. Let that thought be the last light you carry into the dark. Let it steady your steps until you find sleep or a quietness enough. I lift the cover slightly and let the page fall where my finger rests. The print is small and kind. The line I read tonight is simple and steady. It speaks of love that does not end. It speaks of mercy that keeps coming. My voice stays low. The room keeps its calm. I often return to this line when the night feels wide and lonely. Its rhythm steadies me. The idea of a love that never quits feels like a harbor. It asks nothing dramatic. It only assures. The promise is a plain thing. It sits at the edge of many other promises I read aloud. It is like a basic lamp that is always on. Think of a shoreline. The tide comes in again and again. Each time it appears. It is not the same exact wave. Each time it comes, it carries salt and quiet and a smoothing of the sand. The movement is faithful. Nights and days pass, and still the water returns. The image comforts me because it shows persistence without pressure. Love that endures is like that tide. It meets the shore not to overwhelm, but to tend the edge. I remember a night not long ago. Storms had been frequent that season. The house shook with wind. Plan shook too. I lay awake and counted small losses. Appointments shifted. A project stalled. A friend distant. I felt the thread of worry tighten in the chest. I reached for the book, out of habit. I read the line about enduring love, and then I closed my eyes instead of running to fix the list. I breathed into a new image. I pictured a lamp that had been in my family for years. It had a thin crack in its shade, but it still burned steady. No one polished it for show. No one put it on a table to be admired. It simply sat in the corner and did its small work. That memory steadied my shoulders. The lamp had no ambition. It only offered light. The thought of that humble, faithful light loosened the grip on my worry. When I read the simple refrain, I do not try to explain how love keeps going. I rest in its fact. The words anchor the mind. They are like a tether for a nervous animal. They make room. They make an allowance for fragility. They say, inquiet. That constant care does not depend on perfect days. There are practical ways. I invite this idea into the night. Place a hand over the heart. Feel the beat there. It is steady even when the thoughts are loud. Let your palm be a witness to your own life. Say nothing aloud if that helps. Let the silence hold the sentence that repeats in the text, love that stays. Let the mind return to that phrase, like a small rowing toward shore. Another practice I have learned is to notice 3 small, ordinary signs of care from the day. They might be a traffic light that changed in time, a cup that was still warm, a phone call that lasted 2 minutes. The signs need not be grand. Name them softly in your head. Each one becomes a tiny proof of being seen. The habit trains the eye to notice how love keeps arriving in plain ways. I do not make theology heavy in the quiet. That is not our aim tonight. The aim is softness. The aim is rest. So I describe the love as patience made visible. It is not pushy. It does not demand immediate healing. It waits with a long breath. That patience is itself a kindness. It lets wounds be worked on slowly. It allows repair without scolding. A small story from my life helps here. Years ago, during a season of doubt, I visited an old park bench that sits under a maple. The bench had been carved by weather and time. Its wood looked tired, but it held weight. I would go there in the evening and read. One night, rain came quickly. I took shelter under the tree. A passer-by left a careful towel over the bench when the shower eased. No noche. No fanfare. The towel stayed. I returned the next day and found the damp wood dried by sun. The towel was gone. That simple, unnoticed kindness lingered in my memory. It felt like an echo of the wider promise care that appears and stays, not to be counted but to be trusted. When I read the passage about enduring love, I picture acts like that towel, small, timely, often not announced. They do their work and vanish. collection of such acts becomes a long, quiet proof of presence. If doubts press, if the mind says, "How can love persist through pain and loss?" I answer in small steps. Recall one person who keeps returning to help you in practical ways. A friend who shows up with a spare umbrella. A voice on the phone who listens. A neighbor who watches the porch light. These are evidence. They are not the whole story. But they are real. They touch the night. I also name the seasons of loss. Enduring love does not always erase pain. Sometimes it walks beside it. It collects little comforts and places them along the road. It arrives as a hand that steadies, not as a miracle that removes all ache. This honesty helps the heart not to expect false cures. It allows trust to be slow and honest. The practice I offer here is small and immediate. Take a breath. Imagine the shape of a long road. On that road, place one small kindness you recall today. Walk the road slowly. Let each step be a memory of the way care has come. Do this without judgment. Do it like counting stones. The pace is restful. The act itself matters more than the result. I read aloud the lines that celebrate enduring love. I soften the cadence. I let the phrase repeat like a refrain. The repetition is not a chant. It is a way to let the truth settle. Long exposure to such a truth changes the ear. The heart learns to recognize a faithful rhythm. There are nights when the world feels like a list of broken promises. The endurance I speak of is not a magic eraser. It is steady attention. It is patience that refuses to give up. It returns in manners both small and grand. The pattern is not flashy. It is steady, much like the slow flame in that old lamp. I invite a small liturgy before sleep. Lay the hands together. Close the eyes if it helps. Think of 3 people or things you trust to show up in small ways. Let each name be a quiet stone in the palm. Place the stones down. Breathe. Allow the feeling that you are not alone to be true for a moment. Hold that tiny truth as you let the mind unwind. Often, I end this part of the night with a short recognition of weakness. I tell myself, and the room, that not everything is solved. Then I confess a gratefulness for the constant presence. The 2 truths sit together. Not everything is healed. Still, the love that endures is present. That tension is a real place to rest. I speak now of mercy as a companion of enduring love. Mercy is not a sudden flash. It is an ongoing tendency toward kindness. It meets mistakes without a loud verdict. It offers a space for the heart to breathe again. Picture mercy as a weathered coat hung on a peg. It waits there to be taken up when the cold comes. It is reliable. It is ready. If you feel burdened by the thought of having to be strong, let the idea of enduring love loosen that pressure. Strength is not the point tonight. Presence is. Allowing rest and accepting help are acts of wisdom, not failure. The night rewards gentleness more than it rewards toil. Before I close this section, I share another small practice that helps me sleep. I imagine a string of lights above a path. Each light is a kindness I have known. I watch the lights flicker on one by one until the path is lit. The vision is gentle. It removes the sense of isolation. It makes a trail to follow when morning comes. If sleep comes while I trace the lights, I accept it without worry. I lower my voice further now. The book rests again on my lap. The steady idea of enduring love remains. It does not demand a grand response. It only asks to be received. Lie Beck. Feel the breath. Notice the steady beat under the hand. Let the mind rest on the motif of a care that keeps returning. Let it be a shield against the loudness of worry. When sleep arrives, let it be a gathering of the small proofs you've named tonight. Let dreams be touched by the enduring kindness you have rehearsed. If wakefulness remains, linger in the memory of a lamp, a towel, a hand, a light. Let those things be enough. I will read a little more in the next part. For now, carry this thought, gently love, that endures, is with you this night. Let that steady fact do its quiet work. Rest is a gift, and an enduring love keeps watch while you receive it. I open the book and let the light fall on the page. The room stays quiet. The lamp makes a small circle of warmth. The thought I bring tonight is simple. The word is a lamp to the feet. It is a light along the path. I say the idea slowly. I let it sit like a small stone in the palm. A lamp does one thing well. It shows what is close. It does not try to blind the whole landscape. It makes the next step clear. The path does not need illumination from here to the end of time. It needs the next footfall. That is the way Scripture often works. It steadies the feet for one more step. It gives just enough light for what comes next. I remember a night that taught this in a clear way. The sky was thick with fog. The windows of the car blurred the world into soft shapes. The road ahead was only a suggestion. The phone battery lay near empty. Plans wird uncertain. A decision pressed like weight in the chest. The horizon offered no promises. On the seat beside the book, I carry. The small lamp's light looked modest. I sat for a long time. With my hands folded, the pages were familiar. I read without hurry. The sentence I read did not solve the situation. It did something quieter. It pointed to the next step I could take without leaping into the unknown. I had been tempted to rush. Rushing often appears as a demand for certainty. But the lamp at my side reminded me of an easier pace. Look down, not forward. I thought, 1 foot at a time. The voice of the book matched that pace. It taught a way to move that feels safer in fog. The world did not clarify all at once. The next small step became visible and sensible. So I reached for the car door and stepped out into the moist night. The asphalt was cool under the shoe. The white line at the edge of the road showed like a thin ribbon. I walked slowly towards the shoulder, matching breath to footfall. The lamp's circle of light sat on the dashboard. The book lay open, as if to suggest that the path is found by the careful eye. There are other nights when the lamp works in softer ways. I think of an evening spent tending someone who could not sleep. The room smelled faintly of tea and medicine. The bedside lamp was low. I read a single line aloud. The words were small. The listener's hand relaxed. Breath deepened. The light did not fix the illness. It did not pretend the morning would erase pain. It did what a lamp does? Well, it made the immediate place less frightening. It made a step toward rest possible. This is what the imagery promises. The word guides by making the present legible. It does not always answer every question about the horizon. It shows where to place the next foot. That kind of guidance is practical for ordinary life. It suits nights that stretch too long. It meets decisions that feel too heavy for the dark. When the heart wants clarity for everything at once, a lamp feels too small. That is a common temptation. The mind reaches for panoramic revelations. The night pushes for absolute answers. The practice I recommend is different. Name the small decision. Bring it into the light of the immediate moment. Ask for guidance only for the next step. The posture changes. The load becomes manageable. I have a simple exercise that helps when the path looks uncertain. Place the book where the lamp can touch the page. Close the eyes for a breath. Put a hand lightly on one knee. Breathe in for 3 counts. Breathe out for 4. On the next inhale, think of the smallest next action. It can be as modest as standing, picking up a call, writing a single sentence, or stepping outside for a breath of air. Let the idea be so small that it cannot be refused. When the exhale comes, imagine the lamp's light falling on that exact step. Picture the foot lifting. Picture the action happening in a calm, slow way. Repeat this 2 or 3 times. The body learns to move with the mind. The mind learns to accept the next small thing. Oatim. The habit trains the heart to trust guidance for 1 step at a time. Place does something important to the lamp metaphor. A lamp sits where it can help. It is not a distant star. It is a nearby companion. That nearness matters in the dark. Guidance that is close enough to be trusted can be acted on. The word becomes that companion. It does not shout across the fog. It comes near and offers a light that is used, not demanded. There are evenings when decisions weigh beyond the practical. Grief, fear, loss, these giant things press like the dark itself. Even then, a lamp is helpful. A small line of scripture can steady the chest for a single breath. 1 breath can soften the jaw. 1 softened jaw can free 1 small motion. The chain of small motions becomes a pathway across the night. The reading I do before sleep is meant to be that lamp. The tone of voice is measured. The pace is slow. The language is plain. The aim is not to persuade with argument or to press for theological proofs. The aim is to make the next step visible. This is mercy in practice. It arrives as an instruction to the feet, rather than a demand on the will. A short memory fits here. Once, in the middle of a season when leaving a place felt necessary but frightening, steps were avoided by fear. The hands trembled at the thought of change. Nights felt tight. On many evenings the book rested open, and the lamp was small. Over weeks of slow reading, a pattern formed. The heart accepted a modest rule act, where you can, and accept help where you cannot. The decision to move did not appear as a sudden certainty. It arrived as a series of visible next steps. When the final move came, it felt less like a plunge and more like walking down a gently lit path. Guidance at night also comes through habits of attention. A lamp draws the eye to one place. The practice of reading at bedtime trains the ear to listen for small things. The mind becomes skilled at recognizing when a line of scripture is a practical training in seeing. That skill matters beyond the night. It helps during the long morning hours when lists return and choices multiply. There is a difference between light that overwhelms and light that guides. The first tries to expose everything at once. It can be distressing in darkness. The second is calm and usable. It keeps the eyes from straining. It keeps the feet from stumbling. The word, as lamp, tends toward the latter. It brings what is necessary for now. Sometimes guidance feels like a narrowing rather than an opening. The path becomes clear precisely because options shrink to what is necessary. That narrowing feels like relief in the dark. It reduces the anxious buffet of possible outcomes. One clear way forward is easier to carry than 1,000 vague possibilities. When doubt arrives in the night, try the lamp practice. Choose a single, small next step. Read a short sentence from the book that points to faithful behavior. Let that sentence be a lamp on the path. Take the step. Rest. Repeat in the morning. The repetition builds trust, not in sudden revelation, but in steady, practical clarity. A final small exercise helps fold the theme into sleep. Lie down in a comfortable place. Place a hand over the foot that feels most restless. Picture a small lamp at the edge of the bed. Imagine its light on the toes. On the floor, just beyond the sheet. Breathe in for 3 counts. As the breath fills, name a single next step silently. Breathe out for 4 counts. Imagine the lamp's light moving to that step and making it clear. Allow the body to follow the imagined motion. Rest with that image for a few minutes. The book closes softly. The lamp remains low. The smallness of the light is part of its mercy. It makes the next step visible. It asks for one obedient footfall. The path may stay fogged beyond the visible range. That is permitted. The light's job is not to clear the entire horizon at once. It is to lead the feet faithfully from here. Tonight, accept the lamp as a present companion. Read a short line. Let it speak of direction, not of pressure. Let the next single step become the work of this hour. When sleep comes, let the image of the lamp carry into dreams. When awake, let the habit of looking down for one next step guide the morning. I lay the book down and lower the lamp a fraction. The room keeps its soft hush. The light still reaches the hands. The path is lit enough for the feet. In the next part, we will breathe into promises that steady courage for the day to come. For now, let the lamp be enough. Let it make this step clear. Let the heart move slowly, gently, and with quiet confidence. I close the book and let the page rest for a heartbeat. Night presses in like a soft curtain. The hush is wide enough for one simple idea. In returning and resting, there is rescue. In quietness and trust, there is strength. I say the thought slowly, not to prove it, but to let it be felt. The room tonight keeps its low shape. The lamp stays gentle. The blanket is just so. I reach for a small routine that gathers the day. It is a practice of quietness. It is a habit of trust. The routine is not complicated. It is a way to move the hands and the heart toward rest. First, the breath. Breathe in deep and slow. Count to 3. Pause. Breathe out longer. Let the out-breath carry a small surrender. With each exhale, imagine a thin thread loosening. Each inhale brings a small steadiness. Repeat 3 times. The breath becomes a metronome. In its rhythm, quietness grows its roots. Next, a short naming. Take one worry. Say it in a single soft phrase inside the mind. Do not expand it. Do not argue with it. Place it lightly on the bedside table of thought. Then name one small good thing to hold beside it. A warm cup, a friend's brief word, a roof that held through the rain. The pair worry, and a small gratitude creates balance. It keeps the heart from tipping into panic. After the breath and the naming, bring a hand to the chest. Feel the slow beat there. The pulse is steady, even when the mind races. Let the touch be a reminder that life continues through night. Let that continuation be enough for now. Rest does not require fixing everything. It asks for the willingness to be held. Then a short reading. I opened the book and read a line that presses toward calm. I do not seek long explanations. A single verse is enough. I let the words land like a warm cloth across the shoulders. The passage I choose tonight invites a return to rest and an offering of trust. It speaks of strength found in quiet waiting. I read it slowly and let silence be the echo. The sound is small and steady. It is meant to steady the heart. After the reading, a brief prayer that is no more than a hand extended. Speak one line in the mind. Help me to trust. Say nothing elaborate. The prayer is a reaching, not a performance. It is a simple turning, like leaning into a steady wind. It asks for strength, gentle. It asks for confidence that does not shout, but holds. A short practice follows. Close the eyes if that feels right. Breathe in and think of the phrase quietness and trust. Let each syllable be a soft cushion beneath the mind. Breathe out and imagine the burden sliding off a ledge. The image need be small. The motion need be slight. The daily miracle is not in grand gestures, but in small releases. I keep a small jar on the nightstand. Tonight, I add one folded slip. On it is the day's single heaviest thought. No list, no urgency, just the largest pebble carried. Fold it and place it inside the jar. The act is a ceremony of trust. The slip is not lost. It is simply out of immediate reach. In the morning, the jar will be lighter because the night had room to do its work. If rest is still distant, use touch. Run the fingers along the blanket's edge. Notice the texture. Let tactile presence be an anchor for the mind. The body often finds calm more quickly than the thoughts. When the hands settle, the head follows more easily. There is also a posture to practice. Lie on the back if possible. Let the spine be straight and supported. Imagine the weight of the day sinking into the mattress. Allow the jaw to unclench. Soften the brow. Keep the shoulders loose. This posture signals to the nervous system that nothing more must be done right now. The body is invited to stop the busy work of protection. A small repeated image helps. Picture a quiet lake at dusk. The surface is glass. A single pebble drops and sends ripples. They move outward and then vanish. The center becomes calm again. The mind is like that lake. Little disturbances will come. Watch them. Do not chase them. Observe them settle. Trust the water to return to stillness. Trust grows in these tiny practices more than in great arguments. Quietness is a teacher. It does not force strength. It summons it. Strength found in quietness is not a loud courage. It is the kind of steadiness that allows one more day of tenderness. It is the strength that lets the hands be open rather than clenched. Sometimes the night brings grief that feels like sharp stones underfoot. The routine still helps. Breathe. Name one sorrow. Place it on the table. Read a line that promises rest. Offer a short prayer for mercy. Lay a hand over the place the heart remembers the hurt most. Let the hand be a shelter for the ache. The actions do not abolish pain. They create space for it to breathe without drowning the whole night. I have learned to expect the smallness of God's work in the dark. Answers often arrive not as thunder, but as a steady reminder that presence is nearer than fear. Quietness and trust do not deny need. They simply orient the soul to a companionable strength. The mind that learns this stands differently in the morning. When sleep weighs down the lids, allow it without shame. Sleep is a mercy. It is the body's answer to the invitation to rest. If waking returns later in the night, return to the routine. Breathe. Name. Read. Pray. The repetition is not ritual for its own sake. It is training for the human heart to accept gentleness. If wakefulness persists in a stubborn way, a soft task can help. Fold a cloth. Arrange a small tray. Refill the water glass and set it beside the bed. These small actions are not escapes. They are practical ways to show kindness to the self. They create a rhythm that tells the nervous system it is safe to yield. There is also the practice of listening. Stay still and listen to the small sounds. The house breathes. The clock ticks. A distant train hums. Let the sounds be companions rather than alarms. Imagine each sound as a friendly witness to your rest. In their constancy there is assurance. As the night deepens, recall one verse slowly, not as a test of memory, but as a lullaby for the soul. Let the phrase quietness and trust pass over the breath like a soft veil. Each repetition softens the edges. Each iteration reminds that strength can be the fruit of waiting, not the product of frantic will. Mercy finds us in the smallness. It arrives in unremarkable ways. A neighbor who notices a broken fence. A friend who remembers a birthday. A warm mug left beside the bed. These small mercies collect into proof that care is not a one-time act. It is a pattern, one quiet kindness added to another. Trust grows as the pattern repeats. Tonight's closing practice is very short. Place both hands over the heart. Breathe 3 slow, even breaths. On the out-breath, Imagine the burdens placed gently into an open palm. Picture the palm as a steady presence that has room for all that is heavy. Let the image be soft. Let it promise nothing dramatic. Let it promise presence. When the eyes finally close, let the last thought be an invitation, not a command, an invitation to rest in quietness, an invitation to trust. Let the last posture be one of surrender that holds no shame. There is strength in letting go. There is power in yielding to a companion that bears what becomes too much. The lamp is lowered. The room keeps its hush. The breath is steady. The hands are soft. The slip has been folded into the jar. The verse rests in the mind like a stone placed in a pocket. Sleep, when it comes, will be carried on a quiet tide. If it does not come now, the practice is not lost. Each repetition teaches the body and the heart how to come home to peace. I close the Bible gently and set it on the nightstand. The routine sits beside it like a small map. The night will do its slow work. The promise of quietness and trust stays near, not as a loud proclamation, but as a steadying companion. Rest now in that company. Let the quiet teach strength. Let confidence in the one who keeps you be the final shape of the evening. When morning comes, small courage will have been gathered in the dark. For now, receive the rest that is offered. Sure, a heart at peace. Proverbs 1:430. I open the page and let my finger rest on a line that is quiet and honest. It says, a heart at peace gives life to the body. I speak the words slowly. I let them sit on the air between us. A heart at peace is not empty. It carries memory and mess. It is not a tidy shelf. It is a room where breath can come and go without fighting the walls. When peace lives there, the body notices, the jaw unclenches, the shoulders drop, the stomach eases. Sleep becomes possible. Small things happen inside that feel like repair. I have watched this in simple ways. After a long season of worry, a friend once brought a blanket made by hand. I held it, and the fingers stopped trembling, not because the blanket performed a miracle, because the touch, the care, the fact that someone had thought to make warmth for me, steadied something inward. Later that week, the pulse felt less rushed. Nights of rest came more often. The healing was slow. It was real. There is a clear line between tension and sickness. Tightness in the chest makes breath shallow. Shallow breath makes sleep thin. Sleep thin makes the body carry its own tasks poorly. A peaceful heart, in contrast, allows the breath to move fully. That breathing feeds the muscles. It calms the nervous system. It helps the immune system do its quiet work. The chain is small and practical. One soft thing leads to another. I use a short practice to help the heart find peace. I place a hand over my chest. I breathe in for 3 counts. I breathe out for 4. With each exhale, I imagine a small loosened knot where fear has gathered. I name nothing large. I say, one small true thing. Mercy is near. The sentence is brief. The body responds before the mind decides whether it believes. Often that response is the beginning of real recovery. Peace also nourishes courage. A soul that can rest learns to hope again. Decisions that looked monstrous feel manageable when the heart is at rest. I have taken difficult steps after a night of calmer sleep. The clarity did not come as a thunderbolt. It arrived as steadiness at the core. The next day the legs could carry the choice. The world did not seem quite so heavy. Sometimes peace arrives through forgiveness. Letting go of a long-held grievance is like opening a window in a closed room. Air moves. The sense of suffocation eases. Bodies respond to that opening. I have watched people breathe easier after they say a small, honest word of release. Even when the situation remains complicated, the act is not a final settlement. It is a practical easing that allows life to continue. Other times peace comes through work done with hands. I find that folding linen, washing a cup, or sweeping a floor when the mind feels restless creates a rhythm that teaches patience. The body remembers steady motion. The mind inherits steadiness by association. The result is a quieter chest and a lengthened breath. These are small offerings. They add up like stones in a path. Nature is a teacher of this truth. I sit by water and let the steady sound teach me how to slow. The water does not hurry. It keeps its simple motion, watching it. My inner rhythm matches that tempo. The pulse becomes less insistent. The shoulders ease. The nights after such small pilgrimages feel softer. The repairs are slow and patient, but they matter. A heart at peace does not promise that troubles vanish. The pains and losses remain real. The peace does. However, change how the body carries them. An anxious body tightens around sorrow and feeds it. A peaceful body holds sorrow like a bundle that can be set down from time to time. That setting down permits sleep. Sleep allows repair. I read the short verse again, not to make a slogan of it, but to invite the posture. A heart at peace gives life to the body. I slow the cadence and let the room receive the line like a small lamp is set on the table. Keep the breath long. Let the hands be soft. The body begins its quiet work. As a practice tonight, place a hand over the heart, if that feels natural. Breathe slowly. Name one small thing that eases you. It could be the warmth of a cup, a remembered kindness, the sound of a familiar voice in the mind. Let that small thing move into the chest like a single seed in soft soil. Watch what the body does with it. Often the pulse will answer with a steadier rhythm. Let that steadiness be enough for this hour. Shi, healing through faith. James 5:1-5. I turn the page to a line about prayer and healing. The line is tender and direct. It says the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well, and the Lord will raise them up. I read it as an invitation to trust, not as a contest or a guarantee that every expectation will be met the way the heart wishes. Faith here is a posture more than a proof. It is a reaching out with hands that admit need. It is not a demand that the world conform to a wish. It is a trusting that the one who holds the world also holds the small pain before the bed. Prayer offered in faith opens a space where healing can begin. Whether that healing is changed health, new clarity, a mending of a heart, or a peaceful acceptance, I have witnessed prayer work in many shapes. Once I stayed late with someone who had been ill for a long time. A few of us sat quietly and prayed simply. No elaborate words, no performance, just presence and a call for help. Afterward, the person slept more deeply than before. Pain eased, not vanished. The next day, appetite returned a little. The change was practical and gentle. It was, in its way, holy. Healing often arrives through community. Prayer binds people together. It prompts hands to bring a meal, feet to keep vigil, voices to read scripture, and eyes to hold a weary gaze. In those practical actions, faith becomes medicine in ordinary forms. The laying on of hands, the whisper of a blessing, the simple gesture of anointing with oil, or the touch of a palm on a fevered forehead. These acts matter because they are tangible signs of care and prayer made visible. I speak softly about medicine and prayer together. The two are not rivals. A trusting heart values tools that heal in the body while reaching for mercy that heals the soul. Doctors, sleep, rest, nutrition, restorative touch. These are gifts often used alongside prayer. Faith does not reject care. It tends it with gratitude and a humble hope. There are nights when healing means peace in the midst of suffering. Sometimes the body cannot be returned to what it once was. Then the prayer of faith asks for presence and relief. The request is honest. Ease the ache. Steady the mind. Grand a sauveté passage. The faith that prays here seeks mercy and strength more than a dramatic reversal. That kind of healing still counts. It restores dignity and invites rest. I remember a night when grief sat heavy at the bedside. Tears came slow. Names slipped out like small stones. A prayer rose that asked simply for the presence of God to be felt. The next morning the family said the room had felt different during the night, as if calm had moved through like a gentle tide. The change was not a removal of the loss. It was a carrying. That carrying is part of what healing prayer can do. Confession also appears in the passage alongside healing. There is a quiet power in naming brokenness and asking for forgiveness. I encourage simple honesty in the dark, a whispered admission of failure, a short request for mercy. These small acts lift weight. They open parts of the heart that had been shut. Forgiveness given or received changes the internal landscape and supports bodily renewal. Prayer in faith includes waiting. Waiting is not passive resignation. It is a posture of patient trust. I teach myself to wait when the answer is slow. I keep the vigil of small acts feeding, tending, reading a verse, holding a hand. The work is steady and humble. The waiting carries hope and does practical good. Faith works quietly as care continues. If doubt rises about whether prayer makes a difference, I do not argue. I return to simple evidence. Did the night bring a rest? It did not have. Did pain ease enough for sleep? Did a decision become clearer? These small indicators show that prayer, in its gentle way, awakens avenues for healing. The experience is often gradual. It arrives in threads rather than a single rope. There is also the comfort in the ritual. Anointing with oil is a small physical sign. It is not magic. It is a sacramental gesture that says a body matters. The touch and smell and movement ground prayer in the senses. For many, such rituals make faith tangible. They ease the mind into belief that something unseen is at work. In the night, a short practice can be an act of faith and care. Place a hand over an ailing spot if that is safe and welcome. Say a brief sentence of prayer. Help. Heal. Hold. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out, and imagine a soft light settling on the place that hurts. Repeat a few times. Invite someone to sit by the bed and pray with that same simplicity. The shared presence often multiplies comfort. I do not promise a formula. I promise presence. I promise to read and to pray with a voice that stays low and steady. The Lord raises and comforts, whether the healing is a return to health, an easing of pain, or a held heart learning to live with loss. Prayer makes space for the work to begin. As I close this part of our time, I remind us both of a gentle truth. Healing and rest are companions. A heart at peace invites the body to repair. Prayer in faith invites the soul and the community to join that work. Tonight, choose one small practice. Lay a hand on the chest. Speak one brief prayer. Breathe. Let the room hold the request. Let the steady presence of care do the rest. I place the book down softly. The night keeps its hush. If sleep comes, accept it as part of the healing. If wakefulness remains, return to the breath and the short, faithful words. The next part will come soon. For now, rest in the quiet assurance that peace and prayer walk with the body when it needs to be made whole. Shi, healing by faith and a quiet story. I speak of prayer not as a magic trick. I speak of it as a simple reaching. It is the hand that opens toward help. It is a way to name need and to ask for help that is larger than my small ability to fix things. Prayer, in faith, invites healing to begin. It does not always finish the story the way I hope. Often it starts a different, kinder work. When I say healing, I mean more than a sudden cure. I mean a mending that can take many shapes. Sometimes the body changes. Sometimes the mind grows softer. Sometimes relationships are eased. Sometimes strength returns for the next step. Prayer calls these possibilities into the room. It asks for mercy, and then waits for mercy to appear. Often in humble ways. Faith in this practice is a posture. It is a hand lifted in trust, not a demand made to a ledger. Faith says I need help. I am willing to receive it. It opens rather than controls. That openness is where healing finds room to move. The words I use are quiet. The requests are plain. Help with pain. Ease the heavy thoughts. Bring sleep. Make the step I must take clearer. The tone is small and sincere. Prayer also gathers others. Quiet rooms become places of shared breath. When someone else prays softly by a bedside, the very shape of the night changes. The presence of more than one heart makes the load feel lighter. Practical help often follows these prayers. Meals arrive. A light is kept on. A voice reads a short sentence and then rests. The combination of prayer and practical care is where restoration frequently grows. I keep this posture small because big promises unsettle a tired heart. I prefer to describe one practice that I return to. I lay a hand over the place that aches. I breathe slowly. I say a line of prayer that is no longer than a sentence. I do not look for fireworks. I listen for any shift in the body. The shift may be tiny. Ayaf relaxes. A breath deepens. Sleep comes sooner. These small changes are part of what healing often looks like. I want to tell a night story that has stayed with me. It is not dramatic. It is humble and steady. It reminds me how prayer and presence weave together. A friend lives nearby. They have a long-term illness. Nights are sometimes thin and sharp. One evening they call and ask only for company. I bring the book and a small thermos of tea. The house smells faintly of ointment and lemon soap. Light is dim. We sit side by side. I do not hurry to speak. The silence is a kind of prayer already. After a while, I read a small passage, not longer than a paragraph. I keep my voice low. The words are not intended to change the illness. They simply make a company of sound in the room. The hand that is not holding the book rests on the friend's arm. We do a very small thing together. I place a cooled cloth on the fevered brow. I fold a blanket over the knees. The motions are careful and repeated. The friend's breathing slows by small degrees. A tremor in the hand lessens. Some of the sharpness in the night softens. Later, a neighbor who knows their schedule stops by quietly with bread and a note that says they are thinking of them. The small gifts arrive because someone kept watch. Those human acts are the very language of prayer. They are the answer that comes in feet, not thunder. By morning the fever has not vanished. The illness is still real. But appetite returns a little. The friend's laugh comes back in a single line. The change is practical and gentle. It reads like a chain of small mercies. Prayer began the chain. Presence and practical care continued it. The healing is partial but meaningful. I do not tell this to insist on a formula. I tell it because it shows how prayer, asked with faith, often starts a quiet repair. It brings attention and action. It lets other people know where to place their hands. Healing grows in that clustered care. When illness is deeper, the same pattern repeats with different outcomes. Sometimes the body mends more fully. Sometimes the soul finds peace while the body remains weak. Both are healing. Both restore dignity. Both make room for life to continue. My experience teaches me to watch for the small return, steadier breath, deeper sleep, a willingness to eat, a softened face. These are signs that prayer is doing its gentle work. Now I move the light toward another image of restoration. It is an inward renewal that prayer often prepares. I speak of cleansing renewal next. Sha'ah. Cleansing renewal. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Becoming new. I read the phrase that says, being in Christ makes a person new. I do not frame it as a trophy. I speak of it as a quiet change in the inner room. Becoming new is like waking into a room rearranged so that movement is easier. The walls remain. The windows are the same. Yet the air is lighter. This newness is not a sudden erasing. It is a slow unbinding. Old habits and hurts remain in memory. They do not disappear by command. Instead, their weight reshapes. The heart no longer organizes itself around what once hurt most. A different center forms. It is gentler. It is willing to begin. I find this change practical. It affects the things I can do tomorrow. A small anger softens. A repeated shame loosens its grip. Where I used to recoil, I can now try a small trust. The newness shows in actions that were once difficult. Apologies come more easily. Habits of rest gain traction. The body follows the inner change by learning new rhythms. To make that idea usable at night, I offer a small practice. Lie down or sit where the body can yield. Place a hand over the chest and another over the belly. Breathe slowly. As the breath comes in, imagine a thin film lifting from a window. See it rise and fall with each inhale. As the breath leaves, picture the film drifting away. It takes a small residue of old blame or fear with it. Repeat 5 times. The image is not magic. It is a way to let the body and mind accept the possibility of being different tomorrow. Cleansing renewal also involves simple confession. I do not mean long speeches or self-condemnation. I mean honest naming. A short sentence, I hurt someone today. I failed to rest. I was unkind. Speak it in the quiet. Then ask simply for help to begin again. The practice is brief, but real. Naming what is worn and asking for a new start loosens the whole of the past. I once kept a small cloth nearby for this work. At the end of a hard day, I would wipe the surface of a small table as an act of tidying and a small symbol of inward cleansing. The motion is mundane. The meaning is not. The act tells the body that renewal is practical as well as spiritual. It trains hands and heart to expect small, beginning again and again. Becoming new is also communal. It happens in the presence of other steady people. When someone reads a single line of scripture and listens without judgment, the emerging newness is encouraged. A circle of simple practice is reading, naming, brief prayer. A hand on the shoulder gives the change room to grow. Community does not push renewal. It cultivates it by showing up. I do not pretend renewal eliminates memory or pain. The past keeps traces. The new creation lives with those traces in a different way. Scars remain, but they no longer dominate the view. They become part of a larger tapestry. The hands that once hid the hurt can now fold it into care for another person. That is part of the transformation. Another practice helps when shame or regret blocks sleep. Write one short line on a slip of paper, naming a regret. Fold it once. Whisper a brief sentence, asking for a new start. Place the slip under the book. The paper is not a confessional token. It is a simple, tangible act of letting go. The morning can take up what is necessary. Tonight is for receiving renewal. The phrase about becoming new also invites patience. Change rarely finishes in one night. It begins there. It continues differently across days. The quiet practices stack a breath, a confesión, a short prayer, a small act of kindness. Over weeks, these acts become habits. The new life grows not in a burst, but in a steady, patient rhythm. When I read the line about becoming new, Imagine gardener dusk, he trims a bramble. He plants a sapling in a cleared patch. He waters it gently and returns the next day. The sapling grows because someone shows up consistently. The inward newness behaves the same. It needs regular tending. It needs quiet nights where I speak kindly to the heart and give it small tasks of mercy. To close this part, I offer one very small exercise that links healing prayer and renewal. Place a hand over the place that has a persistent ache, physical or emotional. Breathe in and name a single request for healing. Breathe out and imagine a fresh breath of life entering that place. Then speak one line of renewal. I will begin again tomorrow. Keep the sentence calm and practical. Let it be true in the small way you can manage. I set the book down gently. The lamp lowers its flame. The night keeps its hush. Healing has been invited. Renewal has been given a place to begin. If sleep comes now, let it carry the small changes into the dream. If wakefulness remains, return to the breath and the simple acts that teach the heart to be new. We rest in this steady company together. And we wait for the gentle work of morning to continue what the night begins. Shah, freedom in Christ, the light that lets go. I close the book for a moment and breathe into the quiet. The thought I bring now is simple. Freedom in Christ is a gentle unfastening. It does not shout, it loosens. For a long season, I carried a heavy way of doing things. Effort measured value. Noise proved worth. Rest felt like adept. That posture lived in muscles and in small thoughts. Nights were a ledger. Sleep kept asking for receipts. One evening changes in a small, slow way. The change is not dramatic. It arrives like the light through a curtain when the wind moves the fabric. I read a line that names freedom. The sentence does not argue. It invites. I sit with that invitation. I do not rush to analyze it. The mind has a minute to try, on a different shape. The shoulders ease first. The jaw follows. The habit of performance loosens like a too tight belt. The transition feels renewing because it reorders the near things. Tasks remain. The lists do not vanish, but their weight shifts. They no longer sit at the center of the chest. They become things to be handled by waking hands, not to be feared at night. I tell this plainly. One small decision made the path gentler. I stopped promising myself perfection before sleep. The promise is simple. Try tomorrow with what you have, not with what you think you ought to be. The change is a practice, not a single miracle. It repeats in small acts. A nightly ritual grows from that choice. I set the book on my lap. I fold the day into an easy shape. I name one thing done well. I name one thing that needs tomorrow. I breathe. The two names make a small balance. They keep the mind from tumbling into extremes. Freedom in Christ looks practical in the hush. It is a hand that takes only what I can give. It speaks an allowance for frailty. It says, rest is not a prize earned by perfect effort. Rest is a gift given to the tired. This freedom brings permission to be honest. Regret can be present without ruling the night. Faults can be named without being the whole story. The heart grows tender toward itself. A soft mercy moves into the small spaces. The sensation of renewal is like stepping from a stifled room into a late spring field. Air moves. The breath deepens. There is no rush to perform. The body remembers how to soften. The mind, practiced, returns to this softness more quickly each night. A small practice helps embed that transition. Place a hand at the place that tightens when the to-do list speaks. Breathe in for 3 counts and name one accomplishment aloud in the mind. Breathe out for 4 counts and imagine handing tomorrow's worries to a trusted companion. Repeat 3 times. The act is brief. It changes the muscle memory. On a night when old habits creep back, I return to a single image. Imagine a rope tied around the waist. Each day, one knot is untied by choice or by grace. Some nights fewer knots come undone. Over time the rope becomes lighter. The night becomes a place where loosening is allowed. Freedom in Christ is not an escape from responsibility. It is a reordering of who holds the weight. The responsibility of care remains. The difference is that the hands are shared. That sharing allows the body to rest. The soul finds a small ease it had not expected. I read a short passage aloud that speaks of new life. I keep the voice low. The sentence sits like a lamp on the bedside table. In the presence of that lamp, the habit of doing everything alone feels less urgent. The heart relaxes into a softer pattern. The renewal touches routine things. I sleep with a lighter chest. Morning presents problems. But the morning feels manageable. Energy returns in small measures. The day's work is not diminished. The source of strength changes. It grows from partnership, not performance. Tonight, before sleep deepens, try this small exercise. Breathe slowly. Think of one knot you will untie tomorrow. Let it be small. Offer it up in the mind as a thing someone else can hold a while. Lay your hand over the heart and say one short sentence. I am allowed to rest. Let the sentence be an honest, gentle truth. Rest follows this truth more often than it follows attempts at perfection. The night rewards gentleness. The body hears kind invitation better than stern commands. Allowing grace into the near places becomes its own kind of renewal. I set the book down with a soft motion. The lamp gives it steady glow. The freedom I name is not a rule to obey. It is an offer to accept. In this acceptance, the night becomes renewing. Shasan. Hope's anchor, Hebrews 6:19. A quiet certainty. I lift the book again and let my voice lower a fraction. The image I hold now is an anchor. Hope is likened to one. The anchor is fixed and sure. It holds the soul steady when the waters pull. An anchor is not a spectacle. It is a humble instrument. It sinks into the place that will hold. It keeps a boat from drifting when the wind and tide would carry it away. This is the kind of hope I read about at night. It is a steadying weight, not a burden. I remember a night on a small lake. Wind gusts teased the surface. Clouds thickened. Arms tired from rowing. The anchor was small and heavy. When it dropped, the boat stopped its restless wandering. The motion calmed. The world did not quiet instantly. Waves still moved, but the center held. Hope functions like that anchor. It keeps the heart from being carried away by every anxious current. It does not promise the sea will be always calm. It promises a hold when storms come. That promise is practical at midnight. I speak of hope with care. It can feel abstract when explained. Here I make it plain. Hold a single image of steadiness. Place it inside the chest, like a stone of trust. When thoughts begin to drift into fear, touch that stone with your mind. The contact is small. The effect is real. The anchor of hope changes how the body responds. The shoulders drop a fraction. The breath lengthens. Panic's quickness dulls. The nervous system finds a new rhythm. Over time, this rhythm becomes more familiar. Hope trains the heart to return to steadiness. A short practice makes this image usable. Lee Beck. Place one hand over the sternum. Imagine a solid anchor sinking down from the chest into the deep below. Feel the tether between that anchor and the heart. Breathe in slowly as the anchor drops. Breathe out as it settles. Repeat 3 times. The exercise is physical and symbolic at once. I share a small story of fear met by hope. There was a season when decisions felt like waves. Each choice pulled toward a different shore. In the night, attention scattered. A friend offered a phrase, "Choose the next faithful thing." The phrase acted like a small anchor. It did not solve the long-term mystery. It made the present step bearable. When that phrase was repeated, night after night, a steady orientation formed. Hope's anchor is closely linked to patience. An anchored boat waits without panic. In the same way, hope helps the heart to endure without frantic searching for immediate answers. Waiting becomes a posture rather than a trap. The night becomes a time to rest in the hold rather than to be pulled by fear. This hope is secure, for reasons I do not need to prove. Now, it is enough that the anchor holds. If doubt presses, return to simple evidence. Recall nights when a settled thought prevented a spiral. Remember times when sleep came after a brief, steadying sentence. Those past holds are proofs for the present. The anchor also connects us to others. In storms, sailors check each other's knots. Hope anchors are not only personal. Shared confidence steadies a community. When one hand leaves a light on for another, the anchor's hold grows wider. Practical acts, meals, texts. A neighbor's visit are ropes tied around hope's weight. Practice one small way of sharing this anchor. Name a single thing you hope for, no matter how small. Send a short note to someone who can hold that hope with you. The act is not a demand for fixing, it is the giving of company. Shared hope anchors better than solitary wish. At the bedside, the anchor's image helps the mind to settle. Picture the tether. Feel the gentle pull that steadies, not the tug that drags. Let that sensation be a permission to breathe slowly. Let the body follow. I read a line aloud that compares hope to an anchor. I keep the cadence slow. The phrase lands like a pebble in a calm pool. Watch the ripples ease. Do not expect them to vanish at once. Let them move outward and then still. Hope's anchor does one last practical thing. It points attention downward. not outward. When fear looms, eyes often search for a horizon that will answer every question. Anchor imagery redirects that search into the present depth. What steadies here? What is reliable? Now these questions guide the feet back to the ground. Before I close this part, try one final breathing exercise with the anchor. Breathe in gently and imagine the anchor lowering. Hold the breath for the briefest pause. Breathe out and feel the tether hold. Let the body accept steadiness as permission to rest. I set the book upon my knees. The lamp keeps its gentle light. The anchor of hope sits in the chest like a quiet stone. Let the mind return to it when the night stirs. Let the breath find the rhythm of the hold. Sleep, when it comes, will be carried on the sure tether of hope. We have leaned into freedom and into hope tonight. Both are small aids for the body and the soul. Both invite rest. When morning comes, these paths of steadiness will stand as traces of mercy. For now, hold the loosened rope and the steady anchor. Let the night do its gentle work. Shazam, ever-present help, Psalm 461. I open the book and let the line sit between us. The thought is plain. God is present now. Help is near in trouble. The phrase feels like a steady hand. The room breathes with us. The lamp keeps its small pool of light. The night softens the edges of thinking. In this hush, presence matters more than explanation. Presence is a fact you can feel against the ribs. Some nights the mind rehearses disasters. A list of small catastrophes loops without mercy. The chest tightens. The muscles remember vigilance. In those hours, the idea of a constant helper is not an abstract comfort. It is a lifeline. Yesterday was one of those days. The morning began quietly. A small plan felt fragile, and then slipped. Doors closed where permission had seemed certain. Emails came with new requests. A meeting stretched longer than the margin could afford. The calendar felt like a trap. The heart leaned toward fear. On the way home, rain begins. The road becomes a mirror of the sky. Tires hiss. The car slows. A turn that usually takes 2 breaths takes longer. Each red light tightens the chest a little more. Thoughts multiply. A small panic begins its work. I do not try to argue with it. I stop the car at the next safe place. The engine hums. Rain makes a steady voice on the roof. I set both hands on the steering wheel and breathe. The breath does not fix everything. It gives space for one true sentence to be remembered. Help is here. That sentence is small. It does not promise the problem will vanish by dawn. It promises company in the dark. The difference changes posture. Shoulders drop by inches. The jaw softens. The next step becomes clearer. The engine starts with less noise in my hands. The drive continues with a lighter weight. A day like that teaches practical things. Presence arrives in acts and in quiet knowledge. A neighbor's umbrella offered beside the door. A friend's short message that says they are praying. A hand reaching to steady a cart in the grocery aisle. These small things are mercy in human form. They are the hands that make the sentence true. Sometimes, help is not a person but a remembered truth. A single line read slowly makes room in the chest. It is an old promise Translated into tonight's language, the voice that reads it is low. The words are not loud. They steady by repetition rather than by force. I often hold a small practice in such nights. It is simple and tactile. Rest one palm over the heart. Let the other hand rest on the knee. Breathe slowly. With each inhale, imagine a quiet presence drawing nearer. With each exhale, imagine part of the weight sinking into that presence. The motion is small. The change is real. Comfort in sleepless hours arrives in many forms. Sometimes it is a verse that repeats as a lullaby. Sometimes it is the memory of a hand that stayed during an argument. Sometimes it is the quiet fact that someone else watched the house while sleep came. The soul recognizes help in gestures more than in speeches. There was a night some months back that remains present to me. A close plan, unraveled. The worry swelled late. Sleep refused. Tossing seemed endless. A friend calls and asks only if the house needs a light left on. The request feels oddly like an answer. The light goes on. The room changes. The dark keeps its shape. But something near the window is steady. The mind follows that steadiness. In the morning the problem remains. The lost opportunity is still gone. Yet the exhausted parts are softer. The capacity to face the day returns. The presence in the night has done its work. It does not solve all questions. It steadies the frame, so the questions may be met with courage rather than panic. Comfort sometimes speaks as a slow remapping of responsibility. I am not the sole bearer. A shoulder is offered by grace. That remapping feels like a roof built over a small doorway. The rain still falls, but the doorway no longer fills. A place to stand appears. The posture changes from frantic movement to slow response. I invite a small practice now. Gentle and immediate. Place the hand over your heart if that feels right. Breathe in slowly. Name. In your mind. One trouble, small enough to hand over tonight. It might be a single email, a single worry about a child, a single decision that can wait until morning. Hands do not need to release everything at once. Give the one item you can safely let go of for now. After that, think of one concrete help you have seen this week. A warm cup, an answered call, a kindly gesture from a stranger. Let that memory be the proof that help comes. Think of it as an anchor for belief. The proof need not be grand. Small evidence steadies as surely as great spectacle. The ever-present helper is also a quiet doctor for doubt. When the mind demands proof, it often receives small, repeated confirmations. A string of ordinary kindnesses becomes a pattern. The pattern rewrites the heart's default assumption. Instead of alone, the heart begins to expect company. That expectation is itself a medicine. I speak now about nighttime habits that honor the promise. Keep a soft lamp near. Read a single line that names help. Fold one worry into a small paper and place it beside the book. These acts are ceremonies of trust. They teach the hands what the mind needs to learn. Presence is patient. It does not demand immediate faith. It waits while fears are aired. It stays through the fragments of sleep. It does not leave when the mind grows loud. That staying makes it easier to receive rest. The restful moments are not a failure of vigilance. They are proof that help can be trusted. Sometimes help comes as silence. The room holds its hush and thereby protects fragile thought. Silence is an ally. It does not isolate. It creates space for a steadying presence to be felt rather than to be proved. The psalm speaks of refuge and strength. These images translate well into practical nights. A refuge is a place to stop. Strength is what allows the pause to be enough. Both are present now. The refuge can be the small lit space by the bed. The strength can be the breath that steadies the chest. I tell a short memory that shows how presence works. One long winter evening. Pipes burst in the next house. Water roared. The neighbors gathered in the hallway in pajamas and slippers. Someone brings hot soup. Another opens an extra blanket. Where fear could have widened, help arranged itself as steady hands and warm food. The night that followed was messy, but it was not alone. The body, after being warmed and tended, slept. The mind, with the memory of hands that stayed, felt less liable to panic in later storms. The ever-present helper is not a distant concept. It is the neighbor who does not ignore a knock at the door. It is the voice that reads a short line and then rests. It is the hand that touches a fevered forehead and does not hurry. These are the concrete ways presence becomes truth. In sleep, presence often works by small rearrangements. It does not erase the problem. It relocates the center of attention. What was a mountain becomes a stone. The posture becomes manageable. The body relaxes. Repair can begin. I do not promise that every trouble will dissolve overnight. That would be a comfort too quickly purchased. What I say is different and steadier. Help is with you in trouble. The presence is close in sleeplessness. Mercy attends to small and large needs alike. Before we close this part, practice a brief breathing and remembrance. Breathe in slowly. Think of one small help you have known. Breathe out slowly. Imagine that help settling around your shoulders like a shawl. Repeat twice. Let the shawl be enough for now. I set the book down and feel the small hush deepen. The promise remains an ever-present help in trouble. The words sit like a steady lamp. If sleep comes while I read next, welcome it without guilt. If wakefulness lingers, return to the breath and the memory of the helper. Presence holds the night. When we move on, we will carry the idea of presence into the morning. For now, let the thought of an ever-present helper be a shelter. Let it steady the breath and the heart. Rest is invited. Help is near. Allow both to do their gentle work. Shasa. Finding God's presence during difficult nights, I settle into the quiet and listen for the small stirrings of the room. The night is honest tonight. It holds questions and sharp edges. I do not try to fix them. I only bring a steady voice and a few simple practices that help presence be known when darkness presses in. First, I name what is true. Fear is real. Grief is real. Worry is real. Naming them does not feed them. It places them on the table of awareness where something else can sit with them. I say the names slowly. Once, and then I set them down like a small handful of stones. The stones are not heavy when they are counted. Counting makes them manageable. Then I breathe with care. Breath is a faithful friend. I breathe in for 3 slow counts. I hold for 1 gentle beat. I breathe out for 4. The longer exhale carries away tightness. I repeat this pattern until the shoulders stop their automatic climb. The breath is a bridge from the body's alarm to a calmer muscle memory. I read to you because the word is a companion. Tonight, I choose fragments that meet broken nights. I do not seek to answer every question. I aim to cradle the heart. I read lines that point to steady nearness. I speak them plainly, and let silence be part of the verse. The pause between phrases is where presence can slip into the room. When a particular memory or fear returns, I do not push it. I hold it with a soft hand. I ask one small question. What is the smallest, true thing I can say about this? The answer is often gentle. This is hard. I am not alone. Help can come in small ways. Those short truths begin to rearrange the mind's loud stories into quieter facts. I bring the senses into the work. Light matters. A low lamp keeps a small pool of comfort. I tell you to imagine a modest lantern at the bedside. It does not try to banish the dark. It simply shows the next small step. Sound matters too. The regular pace of a voice reading or a low hymn can kindle calm. A cup of cool water at the bedside grounds the body. The touch of a blanket's edge helps a restless hand find rest. I encourage a simple ritual for nights when presence feels distant. Take a small object, a smooth stone, a coin, a ring, and hold it in one hand. Breathe in. Thinking of one promise you trust even faintly, breathe out. And place the object beside the book. The object becomes a marker. When the mind wanders, the memory of that touch can call you back to the promise. Memory of past kindnesses is a powerful anchor. I ask you to remember one small mercy from the last week. A neighbor's quiet help. A message that arrived at the right time. A brief laugh. I guide you to hold that memory as evidence. Mercy happened before. It can happen again. That recollection loosens the belief that the night is absolute. I teach a short practice of listening for the still, small presence. Close the eyes if that helps. Breathe slowly. After 3 even breaths, lean into silence and imagine a gentle sound arriving, not loud, not demanding. It might be a whisper, or a feeling of warmth behind the ribs, or the image of a lamp's circle. Whatever appears, welcome it without needing to define it. Presence often arrives as a soft offering rather than a proclamation. When despair speaks in relentless loops, I recommend a very small intervention. Take a blank sheet or a tiny notebook. Write one sentence. I am handing this to God tonight. Keep the sentence short. Fold the page and place it under the book. The act of making a physical transfer can feel surprisingly real. It is a simple handoff that the body understands even when the mind resists. I also invite practical kindnesses from within the room. If sleep will not come, do a small domestic task that needs no thinking. Fold a soft cloth, pour a glass and refill it. Straighten a pillow. These actions are humble. They speak to the body more than to the story. The hands that move quietly can teach the brain that not everything must be solved before rest. Community shapes nights too, if you can. Call someone who will listen without trying to fix. A calm voice on the line is a presence that stands between you and the night's isolation. If a call is not possible, send a short text that simply says, "I am awake," and a little roar. The act of telling someone is a small tether to another human heart. I speak softly about prayer in difficult hours. Prayer need not be eloquent. It can be one short phrase said over and over. Help me. Stay with me. Hold this. Even a single word repeated like a breath can steady the chest. I encourage placing a hand over the place that hurts and offering the words slowly. The touch and the short sentence combine into a practical prayer. Sometimes presence arrives through ritual actions I learned from older nights. Anointing with oil is one, a dab on the brow or on the temples is an act of care. It is not magic. It is a sign that the body matters and that someone intends to bless it. If the gesture is not comfortable, substitute a cool cloth or a gentle massage across the shoulders. The gestures tie prayer to the senses. If hopelessness presses, I offer a narrative practice that helps the mind see differently. Tell the night a very small truth. I have survived other hard nights. Name one. Describe it in a single sentence and say how you moved through it. Then place the hand over the heart and breathe. The recollection is not a boast. It is a tiny evidence that the present pain is not the end of the story. I do not avoid grief. I speak of it plainly. Grief must have room. I suggest giving it time in the night without trying to repair it immediately. Sit with it like you would sit with a wounded animal. Careful. Present without expectation of immediate recovery. Let tears come or silence sit. The presence of God often rests in the room of grief simply by abiding. When loneliness feels like the center of the night, I read a line that reminds me that presence is promised in the company of God. I wait between phrases. The silence between readings is as important as the words. In those pauses, the heart can sense a presence that does not demand performance. It only needs to be present. Practical steps for worry help too. If a particular worry will not leave, I recommend a tomorrow file. Write the worry on a slip with one possible small action for the morning. Fold it and place it in the jar we keep by the lamp. The jar is not a dismissal. It is a container. It says this belongs to another time. For tonight, the mind can rest. I speak of forgiveness as a route to peace in hard nights. Holding on to old anger tightens the body. If a name or a memory sits heavy, try a short release ritual. Whisper one line that allows partial letting go. It need not be full reconciliation. It is simply a small unbinding so the night can breathe. Forgiveness practiced gently at night creates space for bodily rest. If the mind races with plans and lists, I teach a stepping down exercise. Imagine a staircase with only 3 steps. Step down one thought at a time. Each step is a small, doable action. The first step might be to breathe. The second, to write a single line. The third, to fold the list into the jar. This reduction to 3 steps interrupts the runaway mind and returns control to the body. I often advise keeping a short pocket prayer by the bed. one sentence that names trust. For some, it is I rest in what I cannot change. For others, it is you are with me now. Repeat it when the night grows loud. The brief phrase acts like a shepherd's staff. It guides the scattering flock of thoughts back toward the fold. I encourage a habit of noticing small mercies when dawn arrives. The night's presence often leaves faint evidence, a calmer breath. A softer jour. Heklianikstib. Notice one small change. Thank for it. The habit trains the eye to expect help, which makes presence easier to find next time. When difficulty is chronic, nights become a long pattern. In such seasons, I suggest a nightly covenant of smallness. Choose 3 tiny practices to repeat a short reading, a breathing pattern, a single sentence of prayer. Keep them simple and keep them consistent. Or team. Repetition becomes a scaffold. The scaffold supports the nights when the body is too tired to build its own rest. I close this part of the night with a slow reading of a short phrase that points to nearness. I do so with a voice that rests in the room. I do not promise instant relief. I promise to remain. I promise hasta det redding. A soft rhythm. A companion's presence in the dark. If you are ready, settle deeper. Lay a hand over the heart if that helps. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out and invite a gentle sense that help is near. The practices I have given are small. They fit into a single night. They also teach a longer habit of trust. When you feel enough, allow the sound of my voice to fade toward silence. In the next part, I will invite God's peace to settle with us as we drift towards sleep. For now, hold the simple truths you have practiced tonight. Let the presence you named become a small anchor until the closing comes. I settle back in the same low chair. The lamp keeps its small pool of light. The room listens. Breath moves in and out. My voice stays soft. I am here with you, as I have been all these nights. I read. I breathe. I watch the quiet come. Tonight I shape a little ritual. It is simple. It is meant to be repeated. It is a way to call mercy and hope into ordinary evenings. It is a way to reach out when someone else might need the same calm. The ritual holds 2 aims: ongoing comfort for the heart and a practiced kindness toward others. Begin by making the bed of the night. Turn the lamp to warm. Fold one blanket so it sits ready. Place a small object near the book. A smooth stone. A ring. A coin. Let that object be a token of the day. Let it mark the act of coming into rest. I breathe with you now. Breathe in slowly. Count 3. Hold just a moment. Breathe out longer. Count 4. Repeat this 3 times. Each out-breath loosens a little. Each in-breath brings a small steadiness. The body follows the rhythm before the mind decides to trust. Next, I open the Bible and choose a few lines that fit this hour. I do not search for learned words. I choose phrases that feel like a hand on the shoulder. I read them slowly. I let the silence between sentences sit. The pauses are part of the reading. They let the words sink. After the reading, name one thing that worries you tonight. Say it quietly in your heart. Then name one small thing you can thank for. A cup, a voice, a roof. The pair balances the mind. It keeps worry from growing alone. Gratitude does not erase trouble. It widens the space around it. Then comes an act of handoff. Keep a jar or small box by the lamp. Fold the worry into a tiny paper. Write the single word or line. Fold it once. Place it into the jar. This is not avoidance. It is an intentional transfer. The slip is not lost. It rests somewhere else for the night. The mind learns that not every thought must be held until morning. Place a hand over the heart if that feels natural. Feel the beat. It is steady, even now. Whisper one small sentence of prayer. Keep it brief. Hold me. Help me. Stay near. The prayer is a reaching, not a performance. It is a tender offering. It invites help without demanding proof. To close the bedside ritual, imagine a light outside your door. Picture a neighbor's porch lamp left on. Imagine a table set for someone who might be hungry. See a chair kept warm for a friend who needs to talk. These images are small acts of mercy. They are ways of living the gospel without loud words. They prepare hands for the morning. Make one tiny promise to reach out in the coming day. Send a short message to a friend who is weary. Leave a loaf on a neighbor's step, if that seems right. Offer to turn on a light for someone who feels alone. The promise can be as small as one sentence. I will call. I will bring. I will listen. Keep the pledge gentle. Keep it doable. Once a week, practice a slightly larger reaching. Make a cup of tea for someone who lives alone. Sit with a person for 20 minutes and read a paragraph from the book. Bring a small blanket to the local shelter. These are not feats of charity. They are patient presence. They are ways to widen the circle of nightly care. Create a monthly habit to gather a few people. If possible, a short evening where one person reads and others listen. No sermons, no pressure. Just shared quiet. Bring simple things to pass around: bread, apples, a hot pot of tea. The gathering teaches hands to give and ears to receive. It trains a practice of mutual watching and slowing. When fatigue runs deep, invite a physical token of blessing. Pour a drop of oil. If that is comfortable, untercloth. Press it to the forehead in a silent word of blessing, or place a cool cloth on the brow. These actions tie prayer to the senses. They make mercy tangible. They remind the body that rest is not only an idea but a care that moves through touch. Keep a short list beside the lamp of names to remember. Not a long roster. 3 names at most. Rotate them each night. Pray or breathe with each name for a single breath. The habit gathers compassion into a small, sustainable rhythm. It prevents overwhelm. It teaches endurance. When loneliness presses, reach out in the smallest ways. A brief text that says, I am thinking of you. A recorded voice message, read slowly. A short note slipped under the door. The simple contact breaks isolation where it matters. It tells another person they are not alone at midnight. Learn to ask for help yourself. Name the need without apology. Tell one trusted person, I am having a hard night. If vulnerability feels unfamiliar, start small, a one-line message, a photo of a lamp left on, a sentence that says, please stay near. People often want to help, but do not know how. A clear request gives them a place to begin. Cultivate a list of small comforts to use when sleep will not come. A mug of warm milk, a playlist of calm hymns, the smell of lavender on the pillow, a short poem read aloud, a soft shawl draped across the knees. These practices are practical aids. They train the nervous system to find rest in repeated, gentle motion. Teach the children in the house one short prayer they can keep. Let them learn a one-line blessing to say before sleep. Practice it together for a week. The simplicity becomes a gift they can carry. The ritual creates a shared language of peace that lasts beyond a single night. When grief rises, give it a place. Honoring sorrow is part of the ritual. Light a candle for the person you miss. Read a passage that names lament. Sit with tears without rushing to tidy them. The presence of God often rests in the room simply by staying with grief. The ritual should hold tenderness for the broken places. Keep a practice of sending one small message each week to someone who might need cheer. A line of encouragement, a reminder you are seen. Do not expect long answers. Do not look for grand results. The aim is steady kindness. Repeat it often. Mercy builds quietly when small acts arrive again and again. Record one small note each morning of a mercy noticed overnight. A cooler sleep, a softened thought, a neighbor's light. Place these slips in a jar of thanks. The collection grows into visible proof that goodness comes. This visible proof trains the heart to expect help and to trust a steady presence. Hold one more practice for times when worry returns in loops. Name the worry. Hand it in prayer to Christ with a single breath. Then do one small physical motion. Fold the cloth. Pour water over the hands. Wash a cup. The motion is a transfer that the body understands. It tells the mind that care is happening both inwardly and outwardly. I read the Bible slowly as part of the ritual. I choose lines that comfort more than they argue. I let the cadence be a lullaby. I do not rush the verses. I let each sentence have room. If sleep comes, I close the book gently and leave the lamp low. If wakefulness stays, the words remain like a companion in the dark. The ritual ends with a brief benediction, a short line offered in a soft voice, a few words to remind the heart, mercy is nearer than fear. Hope holds the night. You are not alone. These lines are not speeches. They are a closing hand on the shoulder. Spread the ritual slowly. Invite one friend to try it for a week. Share the idea of the jar. The one-line prayer. The small outreach. Do not push. Offer the practice like a cup of tea. Let people taste it in their own time. I keep a promise to return to this chair. I keep the lamp ready. I keep the book open to the same page for a while. The ritual is meant to be small enough to repeat. It is meant to be steady enough to sustain many nights. If you want to teach someone else, show them one simple step first. How to fold a slip. How to breathe for 3 counts. How to read one comforting line aloud. Keep the instruction plain. The simplicity is what keeps the practice alive. Tonight I place my hand over the book. I breathe once more with you. The lamp breathes light. The room stays kind. If sleep comes now, welcome it. Let the ritual carry into dreams. If waking lingers, begin again with the breath and the handoff jar. Small things. Done again. Make a steady life. I close the book slowly. The last words are few. Trust is not hurried. Mercy moves in small measures. Hope is patient. Rest in that truth. Carry one tiny act of kindness into the morning. Let the practice of blessing others be part of how you keep your own heart at peace. May the gentle routine hold you. May it train hands to give and hearts to receive. May the small lights you leave on for others also brighten the path home for you. Tonight we rest together. We begin again tomorrow.